Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's 1010 webinar, a webinar that will give you a blueprint on the future of standardization requests of SEN and SENELEC. My name is Els, and I will be moderating this webinar in the background. So as usual, you will all be muted during the presentation. We kindly ask you to use the Q&A panel for submitting your questions. So please do not use the chat because we will not look at that. The Q&A panel is there for submitting your questions. At the end of the presentation, the speaker will go through the questions and provide you with answers as far as possible. This topic is that interesting that we might go over the 30 minutes that we usually foresee for 1010 webinars. So please bear with us. If you cannot stay longer than 30 minutes, of course, as usual, we will record this webinar and the PowerPoint presentation will be made available for you as well. So please let me hand over the floor to our speaker of today. His name is Alberto Simeoni. Yes, this is the reminder on the questions. And Alberto is account manager for technical boards in the Standardization and Digital Solutions Department of the SEN-SENELEC Management Center. So please, Alberto, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Els, and good morning to everyone. I hope that you can hear me well. So today we will have a very factual presentation, a presentation based on the facts regarding the standardization request. We will focus in particular on the legislative framework for the standardization request. Please get used to this acronym, SREC. The new model for SREC of the European Commission that has been introduced in 2018, and also the SREC process, both at the level of the European Commission and Committee of Standards and at the level of SEN and SENELEC and our community, identifying who has to do what. So some acronyms. I will refer to COS as the Committee of Standards, which is the committee created by Article 22 of Regulation 1025, where the member states are the members of the committee and the SEN and SENELEC participate as observers. Then SREC will be standardization request, and SRAG is the ad hoc group that SEN-SENELEC create every time there is the proposal for a new standardization request. So please do not mix these terms. Okay, let's see the legislative framework for the standardization request. You can see already from the screen that we start in 2013 with the entry into force of Regulation 1025 until 2018. Then in 2018 something changed, and I hope this will be clear in the next slides. You are, I guess, very familiar with the Regulation 1025 on European standardization. This regards the cooperation between the European Commission, the European standard organizations, the national standard organizations, and the member states. In particular, Article 10 is about the process for the standardization request. So the Commission may request the ISOs to draft a European standard or European standardization deliverable within a set deadline. This is the legal basis. You will see in paragraph 2, this must be done according to the procedure laid down in Article 22. Basically, this means that the Committee of Standards has to validate, so the member states have to give the green light to the European Commission for issuing a standardization request to the ISOs, so to SEN-SENELEC and ETSI. In paragraph 3 of Article 10, the ISOs, so we have 1 month following the official notification of the standardization request to inform the Commission whether we accept or not this request. Just to be also very clear that before the entry into force of Regulation 1025, we refer to mandates. So the European Commission issued mandates for standardization to the ISOs. With the regulation 1025, we do not use anymore the word mandate. We use, as in Article 10, the word standardization request. The difference is that the standardization request is a commission implementing decision. Therefore, under Regulation 1025 is a legal act. You will see, I hope that you are familiar with the database managed by the European Commission, where you can find all the mandates and standardization requests. The database is called mandates. So you see even the acronym and the numbering of the standardization request remain the one used for mandates. You will see here in the example, the last standardization request that has been issued is M/573. So M comes from the past, from the mandate term. So from 2013, we only talk about standardization request. But something has changed in 2018. The European Commission, maybe some of you working, for sure, the members of the technical boards know it, but also maybe some technical committees that were impacted. The European Commission, when preparing the draft standardization request on the PPE, on the personal protection equipment, came out with a new model of standardization request. Here is the legal basis for, well, let's say, not the legal basis, but the legal explanation for this change of the model by the European Commission. So communication 764 from 2018, you have in front of you the cover page, the title, was about harmonized standards, enhancing transparency and legal certainty for a fully functioning single market. This is a communication. This is not a regulation. This is not a directive. This is a communication. So this does not have the same legal value as a European regulation, but this provides the view of the European Commission on standardization. So this is the point of view of the European Commission, how things should change in standardization, in particular following the relevant case law of the Court of Justice of the European Union. So the famous James Elliott case, some of you may have heard about that. So there was a ruling of the Court of Justice of the European Union about a standard that was referred in this court case, James Elliott case, that led the European Commission to change the approach towards standardization. Therefore, this documento, COM 764, explains the actions you will see here in this paragraph, the actions taken recently by the Commission to further improve the system, and also includes specific actions that the Commission will take in the immediate future in order to enhance the efficiency, transparency, and legal certainty for actors involved in the development of harmonized standards. So this is the justification for the European Commission to change the model for standardization request. Not only because in this communication, there is also a clear reference to the fact that the Commission will review the internal decision-making process with a view to streamlining the procedures for publishing the reference to harmonized standards in the official journal. What does it mean? So you will see also the note, as 1st December 2018, this decision will be taken by accelerated written procedure by the Commission. This means basically that from the end of 2018, the citation of standards has become a Commission implementing decision, so it's a legal act, as well as the European, as well as the standardization request. And here we'll see an example of how it looks like. This is an example taken in 2019 for the citation of harmonized standards under LVD, and you will see here there is a reference, this is a Commission implementing decision, and therefore look at the top left side of this page. This is published in the L series of the official journal, which means the legislative part. Commission implementing decision means that, among other, this document go also to the inter-service consultation, for instance, to the consultation of the European Commission legal services. So before citing a standard, the European Commission go for the consultation of the legal service. Keep this into account because this also explain why the Commission changed upstream the model. So in 2018, the model was changed. This is a fact. And the draft standardization request of PPE was rejected several times by the member states at the voting in committee, in COS, in the Committee of Standards. But at the end, it has been finally approved in 2020. So 2 years later, it has been approved. Of course, there was an urgency to approve the standard request on PPE, and basically the model is almost identical to the one proposed in 2018. In the meantime, in 2019 and 2020, we saw that for other legislation, like fertilizers and many others, we have seen the same model. So the European Commission has introduced this new model. What are the novelties of this model? So first of all, the novelty is in how the request standards are listed. So the standardization request contains a precise, exhaustive, and prescriptive list of request standards to be provided by the ISOs. You will see here an example from PPE, but this Article 1 is standardized. So it's similar for all the other regs. And basically you will see that the relevant ISO is requested to revise existing standards or to draft new standards as in Annex 1. So the Annex 1 contains the full list of standards that must be revised, or in case there are new standards, must be developed by the ISOs. Basically, the difference with the past is that for ISOs, there is no more flexibility to adapt the work program. The European Commission clearly identifies what should be done and what should not be done. This is an example in Annex 1, of an Annex 1. So you will see, for instance, Table 1 are those standards that must be revised. It means that if so this is the example of PPE. If there is a standard in the that is currently cited for PPE that needs to be revised, if that standard is not cited in this list for the revision, this standard cannot be revised. It cannot, well, can be revised by the ISOs, but cannot be offered to the European Commission. In this case, you will see also Table 2, that are standards to be completed. That means basically to be drafted. Here I made an example also for the medical devices that will be soon will be presented also for the approval. And you will see that is exactly the same in Article 1. It's exactly the same wording. So the ISOs are requested to revise the standard listed in Table 1 of Annex 1 and draft new harmonized standards listed in Table 2 of Annex 1. Look also at the last paragraph. The standards referred to in paragraphs 1 and 2 shall meet the requirements set out in Annex 3. This is not a real novelty. I will show you later how this article looks like and also the annex. and this is again the example for medical device of the Annex 1. So you see that it's exactly the same model as PPE, as the fertilizers, as all the other standardization requests that have been presented in 2019 and 2020, and that will be presented in the next months. It is important also to underline that anyway, the ESOs can request the European Commission to add standards. So in the recital, it is mentioned that the ESOs may request the European Commission to include additional standards. And here we'll see the example. SEN and SENELEC should inform the Commission if they consider the additional standards would need to be developed, or if they consider that more time is necessary for the execution of this request. This is in the recital, but the recital and the article of the standardization request do not mention what would be the follow-up of this request. So we can ask, it's likely the European Commission will satisfy this request, but it is possible for the European Commission to ignore this request. So there is also a recital to extend the deadlines for the standards delivery. You will see here that given that the execution of the request may require more time than initially foreseen, it may be necessary to extend those deadlines, take into account the progress made in the implementation of the work program prepared by SEN and SENELEC for the execution of the request. It may therefore be necessary to review the respective deadlines accordingly. Also in this case, it is possible to extend the deadlines. The ESOs can request, but again, the recital and the article of the standardization request do not mention what would be the follow-up. Could be, yes, deadlines are extended, or maybe the European Commission denies this opportunity, maybe because the supporting legislation would enter into force by those dates that were set for the standards to be available to support the legislation. Again, also for the, so the second novelty is that the European Commission always sets an expiry date for the standardization request. It defines, this expiry date defines the period during which there is a legal framework for the EC to accept standards from the ESOs. Once this standards request is expired, there is no legal framework to offer standards. You will see here the article. This is again an example from the PPE, but this Article 5 is everywhere in the new standardization request. This decision, so the standardization request, which is a Commission implementing decision, that's why it's called decision, this decision shall expire on 30 April 2024. What does it mean? It means that if we have if the technical committee is working on standards that was requested in the standardization request, and there are problems, there are some delays in the delivery of the standards, and these delays are such that the standard is available, for instance, on the 1st of May 2025, that standard cannot be offered to the European Commission. Also in this case, in the recital, it is mentioned that the ESOs may request the European Commission to extend the expiry date. But also in this case, the recital and the article do not mention what would be the follow-up. So this request can be accommodated, the European Commission, or can be not accommodated. But how, if the European Commission agrees to accommodate, how an extension of a deadline or additional standards or an extension of the expiry date can be granted? Only via a new standardization request. Of course, the request goes through CCMC that will contact the relevant EC desk officers. And then the European Commission may decide to launch, well, if they decide to satisfy this request, they will launch the process for an amendment of the standardization request, which is de facto a new standardization request. So this is not a quick exercise. What is the reason? Because, as I told you, the standardization request has the legal status of a Commission implementing decision. It means that this must go to the EC inter-service consultation, for instance, but also to the Committee of Standards. So if you want to change a deadline of only one standard in the standardization request, a new standardization request is needed, and this must undergo the full process for a standardization request, which means also the approval in the Committee of Standards. I will not present as a novelty this topic in front of you in this slide, but just as a point for attention. It is very important that we pay attention to the annex of the standards request, where are set the requirements for standards, for the standards listed in the standardization request. You will have general requirements, so for all the list of standards, and then, for instance, I made here the example of PPE. In part B of this Annex 2, you have the specific requirements for this standard. It is very important that all these requirements are duly taken into account by Sen and Senelec experts in the SHRAG. The next slide, I will show you the process for taking into account of this element. Because of course, these requirements will impact the capability of the technical committees to deliver the standards as expected by the European Commission. And now we go to the process of the standardization request. Identifying the key elements of this process. So, first of all, as soon as CCMC is aware the European Commission is working on a draft standardization request, so it could be a working draft, launch the creation of a SHRAG. Remember, SHRAG is the Sen-Senelec ad hoc group on standardization request. Basically, this SHRAG is created through a BT, via BT, where basically the BT members are informed that the working draft is available of a standardization request, and that they can nominate, they can appoint experts in this group. And already a date for the meeting, normally it's a web meeting of this group, is already set in the document. And when I say as soon as CCMC is aware, means that this could be upon reception of a working draft, standardization request, or even in case the European Commission has expressed the intention to follow up a topic indicated in the annual Union Work Program. You know that this is a planning tool of the European Commission, where the European Commission sets the priority for standardization to support European policy and legislation. And therefore, this is the moment where a SRAG can be created. The SRAG, so who can participate in this ad hoc group? Interested SEMPT members and SENELEC permanent delegates, experts nominated by SEMPT members, SENELEC permanent delegates, the parent organizations representing the technical bodies, including Annex 3, representatives of the concerned technical bodies. Here you say, if applicable, means that if we have already a technical committees that can take care of that request of the European Commission in case of a brand new field of work, of course, a technical body will have to be created. A representative of the relevant sector forum coordination group, if applicable. If possible, ISO and ESC representatives, because you know that we work at European level is deeply interrelated with the work at international level. A representative of the European Commission, if possible, and then, of course, CCMC. What is the objective of the SRAG? Is for the members of the SRAG to understand if the request is feasible from a technical point of view, if the deadlines are feasible, and you will see also paragraph number 7, if the SRAG identifies the need for funding, this must be clearly identified also, and once the final draft standardization request is available, so when BT, so when the technical boards have to take a decision, they will take into account the SRAG position. So it is important that the SRAG is always able to clearly identify a position, whether SEN and SENELEC should accept that standardization request. This recommendation is key because in the SRAG there are basically also the experts of that field, and therefore it's up to them to give this advice to the technical boards. Here you will see that the moment where basically there is a consultation on a draft, on a working draft between the European Commission and the SRAG, this is the moment where SEN and SENELEC can interact with the European Commission. In particular, the SRAG, via the CCMC PM, may interact with the EC desk officer for that specific topic. For instance, ensure that the list of standards that is in Annex 1, as I showed you before, in the new model for standardization request, is updated. So at least contain the right reference to the standard. Or for instance, the SRAG must raise awareness, the European Commission, that there are some aspects in the standardization request that may create problems. So this is the moment where we have to exchange, negotiate with the European Commission. Because then when the European Commission sends the document to the Commission inter-service consultation, then it's too late. If there is a green light of the Commission, from the Commission inter-service consultation, the document then goes at the Committee on Standards. This can be presented at a meeting of the Committee of Standards, and then a vote will follow in the Committee of Standards, could be at a meeting, but as we have seen recently, normally it goes via a written procedure. What we do internally, CCMC, during the voting in Committee of Standards, inform the BT members and permanent delegates that there is a voting, and in this document that is sent to information to the technical boards, all the aspects of the standards request are highlighted those, for instance, on which we want to draw the attention of the technical board members, because maybe there are aspects that could hinder the standard development. And these also allow the PT members, if they have contact with the national authorities in COS, they will be able to provide explanation about the standardization request. So after 1 month, the member states in COS vote. Only if the vote is positive, the technical board's members are requested to take a decision. This decision is based on the SRAG recommendation, as we saw before. So in case when we receive the information from the European Commission that there is a positive opinion in the Committee of Standards by the member state, and therefore it means that basically the standard request has been approved, we launch the vote in Sensenelec, in the technical boards. Of course, the concerned Sen technical board or Senelec technical board will vote. If, for instance, the standard request is on LVD, low voltage, of course, only the Senelec technical board will take a decision. This is a 4 weeks consultation, and then, of course, the technical board will decide whether to accept or not to accept the standardization request. As I said, this decision will be based on the SREC recommendation. The next step, so in Sensenelec, in Sen and or Senelec, we will have a decision, and we will be waiting for the official notification of the European Commission of the implementing act. We will receive officially. After some time, there is not a set number of weeks for the European Commission to send this notification from the positive vote in standards in the COS. So it could be 1 week after, or it could be 1 month. We have experienced different situation. And once we receive this official document, CCMC prepare a letter where Sen and Senelec accept or not accept the standardization request. According Article 10 of Regulation 1025, we have 1 month to reply from this official notification. So the last 2 slides, very important. It is important that the analysis of the draft standardization request made by the SRAG, so the ad hoc group, must be very accurate, and the recommendation to the technical boards must be as clear as possible, taking into account the following elements. That finally, Sen and Senelec, so not the SRAG, not the technical boards, formally accept or not accept the Commission implementing decision. So Sen and Senelec has to accept a formal, a legal act of the European Commission. So pay attention to this element. And this, in case the recommendation from SRAG is to accept and technical boards take a decision to accept, anyway, this acceptance cannot be conditioned to anything. We cannot say, yes, we accept if we have money. Or yes, we accept if you promise that in future you will update the standards to be revised, for instance. No, it's an acceptance of that document that went through the approval in the Committee of Standards. Therefore, if accepted, Sen and Senelec are committed to deliver what is expected in the standardization request. Also, as I explained, there are some elements that can be negotiated with the European Commission in a certain moment in the process. Remember the slide with the arrow of the process. in a moment, at the beginning, we can interact with the European Commission. So focus on those aspects at the right moment. And also it is important that the concerned technical committees, so those technical committees that are identified to carry out the work, have to focus on an accurate planning of the expected deliverables to meet the deadlines in the standardization request. So please pay attention and be aware that the new process for the EN, homegrown EN, so the flexible standards process, has been designed also to facilitate the planning and monitoring of standards under mentioned in the standards request. This is the last page with the hyperlinks to documents I presented, and now I would